The day I turned 18, my father shoved a backpack into my hands and threw me out with words I'd never forget. If you're so smart, prove it, make your own way. My crime? Daring to suggest that Harrison Manufacturing, the family company, nearly a century old, needed automation and digital transformation. CEO George Harrison erupted in front of the entire board. You think you know better than 3 generations of Harrisons? He roared, while my brother David, ever the golden son, smirked from his VP seat. You want to turn our legacy into some kind of tech startup circus? I'd grown up breathing this business, studied engineering instead of business like David, because I wanted to build the future, not just inherit the past, but to them, tradition trumped vision. Fine, I said, hoisting my backpack, I'll prove it, just not here. You'll fail, David sneered, you're nothing without the Harrison name. 10 years later, I stood in my penthouse office at Trinity Innovations, watching the Chicago skyline catch fire with dawn. My assistant, Clara, knocked and entered, financial report in hand. Harrison Manufacturing just dropped another 15%. They're bleeding out and looking for investors. I smiled. Yesterday, I'd received their merger proposal. They didn't know who owned Trinity. To them, it was just a mysterious tech titan that had exploded onto the scene 5 years ago. They had no idea the CEO was Emma Harrison, the daughter they'd cast aside. Their board meets today, Clara said. Your father and brother are presenting a final survival plan. I glanced at the proposal again, remembering the year I spent coding in a diner between night shifts, the scholarship that got me to MIT, the months I slept in my car. I'd started Trinity with nothing but a laptop, a dream, and the words they used to break me. What time is their meeting? 9 a.m. Their shareholders are restless. They've lost nearly half their market share to automated competitors. Exactly what I'd warned them about a decade ago. While they clung to dusty machinery and legacy thinking, I built a revolution: streamlined systems, AI-integrated manufacturing, end-to-end digital platforms. Trinity didn't just compete, we redefined the industry. My phone buzzed. David again. He'd been calling Trinity's CEO for weeks. I let it go to voicemail. Again. Miss Harrison, Clara asked softly, the paperwork's ready. Are you sure you want to do it like this? I looked out over the city, my empire. They told me to make my own way, I said, so I did, and now, they'll see exactly what I built. My phone buzzed again, a message from my father, addressed to the mysterious CEO of Trinity. Our board meets at 9. Please, we need an answer. The Harrison legacy depends on it. That legacy, the one they said I'd tarnish, the one they're now begging me to save. Have the car ready by 8:30, I told Clara. It's time for a family reunion. The papers are calling it the fall of a dynasty, she said, scrolling through headlines. Harrison Manufacturing facing bankruptcy. I picked up an old photo from my desk, me at 18, grinning in front of the factory, still naive enough to think merit would matter more than bloodlines. Send the board a message, I said. Tell them their mystery CEO will be attending in person. In the elevator, I straightened my designer suit. My nameplate gleamed. Emma Harrison, Chief Executive Officer. The drive felt like rewinding a decade. Same brick building, same faded sign. Harrison Manufacturing, SC 1923. Only now, the parking lot was half empty, the loading docks, silent, a monument to pride left unchallenged. Market opens in 30 minutes, Clara said from the back seat. Their stock's in freefall, shareholders are in a frenzy. And how much of the company do we own now? 48%, one more buy and you control it. I smiled. Perfect. They threw me out with nothing, now I held their future in my hands. The board's assembled, Clara said as we pulled up. Your father and brother are presenting their last pitch. I stepped out of the car. Let them talk. It was my turn now. I stepped out of the car, remembering the day I'd left this building with nothing but a backpack and defiance. Now, I was returning, not as a castaway, but as their last hope. Ready? Clara asked, holding the door open. I brushed a hand over my company badge, the one with Emma Harrison, CEO engraved in crisp silver. They told me to make my own way. Now they'll see exactly where that way led. The Harrison Manufacturing boardroom fell into stunned silence as I pushed open the heavy oak doors. Not much had changed, same long mahogany table, same leather chairs, same portraits of stoic Harrison men staring down from the walls like silent judges. But the people had changed. The confidence was gone. What sat around that table now was fatigue, fear, and fading legacy. My father was at the head of the table, mid-pitch. His hair was fully gray now. David sat beside him, no longer smug, just pale and tight-jawed. "Ladies and gentlemen," I announced, my voice slicing through the stillness, "Trinity Innovations appreciates your interest in a merger." "Thank God," one board member breathed. "We're saved." My father stepped forward, extending his hand. "Welcome, I'm George Harrison. We've been trying to reach you for weeks." I didn't take his hand. "Oh, I know exactly who you are, Dad." The room shifted. David stiffened. My father's smile faltered. "Emma," he said, voice barely a whisper. I smiled. Surprise. I walked to the head of the table, his seat, and took it. "Shall we talk about just how badly you need my help?" David stood up so fast his chair screeched backward. This is impossible. You're the CEO of Trinity, the company that's been wiping us out?" "Wiping you out?" I opened my laptop, casting a graph of their plummeting stock prices onto the wall. "No, David, you did that all by yourselves, when you refused to adapt, when you chose arrogance over innovation, when you threw away the only person who actually understood where the industry was going." A board member leaned forward, blinking at the data. "Miss Harrison, your company owns a substantial portion of our shares, doesn't it?" 48%, I confirmed. "Acquired quietly, over the past year." I glanced at my watch. "And as of 3 minutes ago, we just bought another 5% on the open market." My father's face went ghost white, his hand gripped the edge of the table. You have controlling interest." "Correct." I leaned back in his chair. "The very company you said I'd never understand, the one you cast me out of, for daring to suggest the changes you now beg for." David slammed his hands on the table. "This is revenge. She's going to tear everything down out of spite." "Sit down," I snapped, and the steel in my voice made him do just that. "Trinity doesn't destroy for revenge. We acquire for growth, profit, efficiency, everything you never understood." Clara stepped forward and handed out sleek folders to each board member. "Inside, you'll find our full analysis of Harrison Manufacturing, and the proposed restructuring plan." A murmur rippled through the room as pages turned. "Automated production lines," my father read aloud, barely above a whisper. "AI systems, smart factory integration. Everything I proposed on my 18th birthday," I said. "The plan you mocked, the vision you dismissed as naive." One board member, older now, nodded slowly. "She was right," he murmured. "She was always right." David tried again, weakly. "Emma, please, we're still family." I laughed. "Were we family when you sneered at me in that boardroom, when you stood by as Dad threw me out, when you said I was nothing without our name?" I walked to the window and looked down at the floor below, old machines still wheezing, still resisting time. "The merger proceeds," I said. "Trinity Innovations will fully acquire Harrison Manufacturing. We'll rebuild it from the ground up, modernize it, make it competitive again." My father's voice, quiet behind me. "And us? What happens to us?" I turned. "David, you're fired. Clear out your office by end of day." His mouth fell open. "What?" "Consider it karma for every time you called me a silly little girl." "You can't." "I can," I said, calmly, "and I am. As for you, Dad." I let the silence stretch, long enough for discomfort to settle in his shoulders. "You'll be offered a new role, historical consultant. No decision-making, no power, just guiding tours and sharing our legacy with visitors, since tradition matters so much to you." Around the table, the board members visibly relaxed. Trinity had a reputation for salvaging sinking ships, and this ship had just found its new captain. "One more thing," I added, already turning toward the door. "The company's name will change. Trinity Harrison has a nice ring to it. My name comes first this time." My father slumped into a chair. The weight of decades, ego, pride, and stubbornness seemed to collapse in on him. "When did you become so ruthless?" he asked, almost to himself. "The day you threw me out," I said, with nothing but a backpack and a challenge to prove myself. I gathered my things and nodded to Clara. "Consider that mission accomplished." As we stepped into the hallway, David's voice rang after us. "You think you've won, that you're better than us?" I stopped, not bothering to turn around. "I proved it," Check Trinity's stock price if you need confirmation. The following weeks blurred with transformation. Harrison Manufacturing shed its rusted skin like an old serpent. Automation systems replaced outdated machinery. AI-driven logistics cut waste and boosted efficiency. Every dream I'd once scribbled in a notebook, dismissed as youthful arrogance, became reality. My father watched from the sidelines, his new office a small room lined with company memorabilia, where he gave nostalgic tours to visiting clients and school groups. Occasionally, I'd catch him gazing down at the humming factory floor, watching the world he once ruled evolve without him. David drifted further out of view, eventually landing an entry-level position at a small manufacturing firm. No executive title, no corner office, just another man trying to stay relevant in a future he'd refused to build. 1 month later, I sat in the office that had once belonged to my father. Now it was mine, sleek, minimal, efficient, even the air felt lighter. I stared up at the oil portrait of my grandfather, still looming above the fireplace. "You'd be proud," I said aloud to the stern, painted face. "The company's not surviving anymore, it's leading." A soft knock. Clara stepped in. "Your father's here, says he wants a word." He entered slowly, uncertain, like a man visiting someone else's home, and maybe he was. "The changes," he began, voice hesitant. "They're working, production's up, 40%. "I know," I replied, eyes still on the reports in front of me. "That's what happens when you listen to good ideas, no matter who they come from." He shifted his weight, looking everywhere but at me. "I was wrong." A pause. "I'm sorry, Emma, for not seeing your potential, for not believing in you." I looked at him for the first time, really looked. He wasn't the titan who once roared across boardrooms, just an aging man learning too late what vision truly meant. "You did me a favor, Dad." I gestured to the window, where the factory below pulsed with life. "You told me to make my own way, so I did. I built something bigger than you ever imagined, and now, I own your way too." He nodded, a flicker of understanding passing through his eyes, then left without another word. Clara returned with the latest financial reports. "Trinity Harrison's stock just doubled," she said, handing over the folder. "The press is calling it the innovation revolution." I smiled, turning toward the corner of the room where I kept my old backpack, worn canvas, frayed at the seams. Inside, the crumpled presentation I had once tried to give still sat folded, untouched. The plan they all laughed at, the future they refused to see. I ran my fingers across the faded ink. "Make your own way," I whispered, echoing my father's words from a decade ago. "Well, Dad." "I did, and I bought yours too. Because sometimes, success isn't just proving people wrong. Sometimes, it's proving yourself so right, they have no choice but to work for you. And sometimes, just sometimes, it's sitting in your father's chair, running his company better than he ever did, and knowing, with absolute certainty, the daughter he discarded now signs his paycheck."